In this video, I'm going to show you the 3 cheat codes I've used to extract real frameworks, mental models, and shortcuts from the top performers so you can walk away with a playbook and not just generic advice. So let's get into it. Here's the thing. Most people sit across from a billionaire, a mentor, a high-level operator, and they just blow the moment. They ask the same recycled questions like, how did you get started? Or what books do you recommend? Or worse, what is your morning routine? And then they get back the same surface level stuff that you could have found on their LinkedIn. But when you learn to ask the right kind of question, everything changes. One conversation can give you a shortcut that would have taken you years to figure out if you had to do it on your own. Actually, that happened to me with Richard Branson. It happened to me again with Alex Hermosi. And I've gotten to build entire systems in my own business using the same approach. So let's get to cheat code number 1 is to ask what, not how. The biggest mistake I see in people asking how questions are like, how do you build a business? How do I get more clients? How do I grow my brand? And listen, those questions are not bad. They just don't go deep. And because they put the other person in teaching mode, or worse, you get like a vague motivational answer that they have said 100 times over. What you want to do is you want to ask what questions. That's what invites people to unpack how they actually think. Now, let me give you a couple of examples. A while back, I played tennis with Richard Branson on Necker Island in the Virgin Islands. I could have asked him, how did you build Virgin? but instead, I asked something different. What do you do when a new idea hits you? Or what do you do to bring that new idea to life? And or if that idea is unclear, what do you do to explore it without wasting resources? That opened up the floodgates. And he shared how he journals right away. He loops in his team and to prototype the ideas fast before they're fully baked. That was an insight I could use immediately, not a quote, but a system. The same thing happened when I had brunch with Alex Hermosi. Now, I didn't ask him, how do I grow a personal brand? Or how do I build and have a big beard? No. What content should I make? No. I asked, what do you do when you get a new idea? What framework do you use if something is worth sharing or not? Or what is your thinking process for content and brand overall? Now, crazy part is, let me give you the answer. Here's what he told me on how he's working the things right now. He shares all his ideas on Twitter, which is his digital notebook. And then he started spending a little bit more time curating those ideas, not just blasting out the ideas randomly, but crafting them more intentionally. Because clarifying the tweet helps him clarify the thinking. Then the flow looks something like this. 1, it starts as a tweet. 2, it becomes a LinkedIn post. Then 3, it becomes a short form video. 4, then a cluster of ideas together turns into a long form content piece. And eventually becomes a part of a book or a workshop or a keynote presentation. All because he spends an extra minute making sure that the first domino, that first tweet is strong. That's not just smart, that's a system that I can use, that you can use. Now, that brings us to cheat code number 2, which is listen for frameworks. Now, once you ask the right question, the next step is to listen for how they think. You're looking for frameworks or filters or mental shortcuts. These are the things that high performers use without even realizing it. But once you hear them, you can use them for life. Now, here's an example that I often share. If someone asks me, hey, Sharran, what should I do if I don't have any leads? This is a lead generation question, right? So my answer is leads come from 3 broad sources: organic, paid, or JV and partnerships. Now, which one are you focused on? That allows me to instantly overlay a filter for their thinking. Here's another example. If someone is running an agency and someone says, hey, how do I grow my agency or how do I fix it? I say, well, it's usually one of 2 things: rapport and results. If the relationship is off or the outcomes aren't there, then one of those 2 are broken. That's how I simplify the chaos. You don't need 100 answers. You just need one lens that you can see clearly through. Now, that's where cheat code number 3 comes in. Name it, store it, use it. Now, once you've got a good model, don't let it disappear. Here's exactly what I do. I first name it. The moment it has a name, it becomes a tool and you never forget it. The examples would be the TSS model that I came up with with myself, which is traffic, systems, and skills, or the rapport versus results filter. Or you take Alex here and he said the Hormozi tweet domino. I just made it up. Or you take Branson's idea loop. I just make up the name so that I remember it. But number 2, you want to store it. Store it somewhere. I use Notion and Apple Notes. Sometimes I use voice memos or shared docs. It doesn't really matter what tool you use. Don't just rely on your memory to remember that mental model. And number three, you got to use it. The way you use it is I create a simple when then trigger. So, for example, when I'm stuck in content, I use the Hormozi filter. When the growth slows, run the TSS scan. When the deal stalls, run pour and results framework. Now, these are frameworks aren't just in my notes. Now they're part of my day-to-day playbook. In fact, let me tell you a real life example where it really clicked for me. So, over a 23-month period, I went on 248 cold real estate listing appointments. And that's across 22 different markets, helping our agents win luxury listings. These are stone cold, no relationship. And in that 23-month period, we won over $1 billion in listing business. Now, here's the part I'm actually proud of. After every single appointment, I'd sit in my car and I'd record a voice memo with every single question that the client asked. So over time, I had logged over 2,000 questions. And eventually I realized something. Clients don't ask 2,000 different questions. They ask the same 10 different questions, just in different ways. So I saw the pattern and I built a model. And I turned that model into a 10-page training guide, a listing presentation called the Black Book. It covers the 10 core questions and feelings that the sellers ask and how to navigate them. I've taught this to thousands of agents, and it works because it's not a script. It's a structure. It's a system that you can count on, that you can use whenever you want. The crazy part is, here is the truth. Whether you're learning from someone else or pulling your own insights from your own reps, you're not just collecting ideas. You're building a system that lasts forever. That's why you got to name it and store it and use it. If you remember Tim Ferriss, that's exactly what Tim Ferriss did with his book, The Tools of Titans, a big, fat, thick book. He didn't just look for quotes. He asked for questions like, what belief changed your life? Or what do you do when you're overwhelmed? Or what framework do you use to make big decisions? He was building a mental model library. And you can do the same, one conversation at a time. Now, how do you take this to the next level? Meaning, how do you scale the system? So if you want to scale this, you got to build some infrastructure around it. And that's what I actually did. I brought on a team of offshore virtual assistants, and one of their core responsibilities is to capture the insights, tag and organize the frameworks, and build a searchable knowledge base. Now, my brain exists outside of me, and I can train others with it. I can totally scale it. That's how we grow fast without burning out. So here is the exact playbook to recap. Number one, ask what, not how. Number two, listen for structure and frameworks. And number three, name it, store it, use it. Every person you meet has a shortcut inside their story. Every rep you put in holds a pattern waiting to be pulled out and discovered. If you can spot it and you can capture it and you can apply it, that's how you compress decades into days. So whether it's a tweet or a conversation or $1 billion sales play, you are not just collecting ideas, you're turning them into your unfair advantage.